Senior anthropological researcher Zixtal nervously adjusted her crystalline appendages as she prepared to present her findings to the Grand Council of the Galactic Federation. After 3 decades studying Earth and its inhabitants, she had finally understood something that had eluded her species for centuries. Her discovery would either revolutionize their understanding of warfare and evolution, or get her permanently dismissed from the Academy. The chamber's bioluminescent walls pulsed with a soft azure glow as the council members filed in, their varied forms representing dozens of the most advanced species in known space. Some floated on gravitational fields, others walked on multiple legs, and a few existed as pure energy contained within specialized suits. All of them, however, shared one thing. They were about to have their preconceptions shattered. Honorable Council. Zixtal began, her translator converting her crystalline resonances into standard galactic basic. I stand before you today with findings that will fundamentally change our understanding of what constitutes a warrior race. The Council's chief administrator, Valon, raised one of his sensory stalks. Researcher Zixtal, we have extensively documented and classified warrior races throughout the galaxy. What could possibly warrant such a bold claim? Zixtal activated the holographic display, showing a timeline of human history. We have always classified warrior races based on physical capabilities, cultural militarization, or evolutionary adaptations for combat. Humans fit none of these categories, yet they may be the most formidable warrior race we have ever encountered. Murmurs of disagreement rippled through the chamber. Humans were widely regarded as an unremarkable species, physically weaker than many, lacking natural weapons, and with no particular evolutionary advantages beyond their endurance and tool use. Consider this, Zixtal continued, advancing through her presentation. Every other warrior race we have studied evolved their combat capabilities through natural selection. The Krathak developed their armor plates, the Void Dancers their spatial awareness, the Mechborn their silicon-based processing power. But humans, they simply decided to become dangerous. She displayed images of human technological advancement, from stone tools to modern warfare. In mere millennia, a blink in evolutionary terms, they went from throwing rocks to splitting atoms. But what truly sets them apart isn't their rate of advancement. It's their fundamental approach to problem solving. A council member from the silicon-based Mechborn interrupted, their voice carrying electronic undertones. We are aware of human technological capabilities. This hardly qualifies them as a warrior race. With respect, you're missing the crucial point, Zixtal responded. Other species develop weapons as needed, responding to threats or military necessity. Humans invent weapons because they're curious about whether they can. They transform civilian technologies into military applications not out of necessity, but out of scientific interest. She displayed her most startling finding, a compilation of human research projects that had accidentally resulted in potential weapons. A team of civilian researchers studying agricultural pest control accidentally created a compound that could theoretically neutralize any known energy shield. They published their findings in an open scientific journal, noting it as an interesting side effect. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Zixtal continued. Their children play games simulating warfare. Their entertainment media constantly explores scenarios of conflict and resolution. Even their sports are stylized combat. But most importantly, they approach every problem, military or civilian, with the same innovative mindset. Last year, a human medical researcher developing treatments for neural degradation accidentally discovered a way to enhance synaptic transmission. Instead of weaponizing it, they published their findings and continued their medical research. But the military applications are obvious to anyone who understands the technology. Valon leaned forward, his sensory stalks fully extended. Are you suggesting that humans are accidentally creating weapons while pursuing other goals? Precisely, Zixtal confirmed. And that's what makes them so unique. Every other warrior race we've encountered specializes in warfare. Humans specialize in innovation itself. They don't just solve problems. They solve them in dozens of different ways, then argue about which solution is most elegant. She displayed her final slide, a compilation of human responses to various crises. When faced with a threat, most species rely on their evolutionary advantages or established military doctrine. Humans, they brainstorm, they experiment. They try solutions that seem absolutely bizarre until they work. And most importantly, they share information so freely that their entire species functions as one massive research and development engine. The council chamber erupted in concerned discussion. Zixtal waited patiently, knowing her next words would be the most controversial. I recommend immediately reclassifying humans as a Category 1 warrior race, not because of what they are, but because of what they could become at a moment's notice. Every human innovation, every scientific breakthrough, every technological advancement comes with the potential for military application. They don't need to evolve natural weapons. They create them as a byproduct of their curiosity. As the implications of her report began to sink in, Zixtal knew she had fundamentally changed the galaxy's understanding of what made a species truly dangerous. It wasn't physical capability or military tradition that defined a warrior race. It was the capacity and inclination to transform anything and everything into a tool for survival. The council chamber remained silent for several long moments before Vylon spoke again. Researcher Zixtal, your findings are disturbing. What do you recommend as our course of action? That's the most fascinating part, she replied. We don't need to do anything. Humans are already aware of their capabilities. They make entertainment about it constantly. They've simply chosen to direct their innovation primarily toward peaceful purposes. But make no mistake, if threatened, every human scientist, engineer, and innovator could redirect their efforts toward defense. Their entire civilization is a potential weapons research facility disguised as a peaceful society. The implications hung heavy in the air as the council began to digest the true nature of their newest galactic neighbors. Humanity wasn't just another species with interesting capabilities. They were an entirely new category of potential warrior race, one that had chosen peace while maintaining the capacity for unprecedented warfare through sheer innovative potential. The news of researcher Zixtal's report spread through the galactic community like a quantum cascade reaction. Within days, diplomatic channels buzzed with concerned communications, and the various embassies on Earth noticed increased surveillance from their homeworlds. Despite attempts to keep the Council's deliberations confidential, information had leaked. Ambassador Renthor of the militant hegemony paced the crystalline floor of his office in the orbital diplomatic station, his scaled armor reflecting the Earth's blue glow through the viewport. A holographic display showed dozens of reports from his analysts, each more concerning than the last. The humans, oblivious to the growing crisis, continued their daily routines below. You're certain about these findings? He asked his chief intelligence officer, Crafter, who stood rigidly at attention. Absolutely, Ambassador. We've independently verified researcher Zixtal's core claims. Just yesterday, a human university published research on quantum entanglement that could revolutionize our entire understanding of faster-than-light communication. They did it as part of a graduate student's thesis project. Renthor's facial scales shifted in a pattern indicating deep concern. And the military applications. Obvious to anyone with basic strategic training, the humans simply didn't mention them. They're focused entirely on the communications potential. The ambassador activated his secure channel to the Hegemony High Command. We need to revise our strategic assessments immediately. The humans aren't just potential rivals. They're rewriting the rules of technological advancement, while treating it as routine academic research. On the other side of the station, First Speaker Ayara of the Harmonious Confluence was having a very different reaction. Her bioluminescent patterns shifted rapidly as she reviewed the same data. This is extraordinary, she communicated to her aide, their species' light-based language creating intricate patterns in the darkened chamber. The implications are concerning, First Speaker, her aide responded, patterns flickering uncertainly. No, You misunderstand. This isn't just about warfare. It's about potential. Look at their medical research, their environmental restoration projects, their space exploration initiatives. They apply the same innovative approach to everything. Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent communication from Earth. Dr. Jasmine Patel, the human liaison to the harmonious confluence, appeared on their specialized light-based display. First speaker, I hope I'm not interrupting. Jasmine began, unaware of the deeper context of her timing. We've had a breakthrough in our collaborative research on photonic computing. The team thinks we found a way to increase processing efficiency by 300% while reducing energy consumption. We'd like to schedule a presentation of our findings. ER's patterns shifted to show both appreciation and concern. This was exactly the kind of innovation that had sparked the current crisis, a civilian research project with profound implications for military computing systems. Yet the humans involved seemed focused solely on its peaceful applications. Meanwhile, in the mechanical Concordat's embassy, Intelligence Unit 7 Delta processed thousands of historical human patents, scientific papers, and research proposals. Its quantum processors hummed as it identified a disturbing pattern. Humans didn't just solve problems. They typically found multiple solutions and freely shared them all. Analysis complete, it reported to the Concordat's representative. Human innovation follows no predictable pattern. They frequently solve problems through methods we would consider illogical or inefficient, simply to prove it can be done. This makes their technological development path impossible to predict or counter. The representative's mechanical form shifted. Recommendation: standard containment protocols would be ineffective. The humans' distributed research model means no single point of control exists. Their civilian research sector alone produces more potential military innovations than our dedicated military research facilities. Across the diplomatic station, similar conversations and analyses were taking place. Some species argued for immediate containment measures, while others saw tremendous opportunity in closer collaboration with humanity. The division of opinions only grew sharper as more data emerged. In his private quarters, Junior Diplomatic Officer Toshi Yamamoto reviewed the sudden increase in diplomatic activity with growing concern. After 3 years of serving as Earth's liaison to various alien species, he had developed a knack for sensing political undercurrents. Something had changed in the past few days, but no one would tell him what. He pulled up the latest research collaboration requests on his quantum tablet. The number had dropped by 60% in just 2 days. More concerning were the ones that remained. They all focused on extremely basic technologies, as if their alien partners were suddenly afraid of sharing advanced concepts. Computer, show me all diplomatic communications regarding Earth from the past week, he commanded. Unable to comply, the AI responded. 87% of recent diplomatic traffic has been classified by originating species. Toshi leaned back in his chair, a cold feeling settling in his stomach. In his experience, the only thing that caused this kind of diplomatic chill was fear. But what had changed? Earth had been nothing but cooperative with the galactic community. He opened a channel to Ambassador Renthor, one of the few alien diplomats who had always been straightforward with him. Ambassador, do you have a moment to discuss the recent change in diplomatic climate? The militant hegemony's ambassador's scales shifted in what Toshi had learned to recognize as discomfort. Ah, Officer Yamamoto. Perhaps this is a conversation best held in person. Would you join me for a meal? There are some matters that should be discussed. Delicately. As Toshi made his way to the ambassador's quarters, emergency meetings were being called in capitals across the galaxy. Humanity had not changed, had not made any aggressive moves, had not done anything differently than they had been doing for decades. But the galaxy's understanding of them had fundamentally shifted, and with that shift came a crucial question. How does one deal with a species that could transform any breakthrough, any discovery, any innovation into a potential game-changing weapon? The answer would shape the future of galactic diplomacy, assuming the growing fear and paranoia didn't lead to disaster first. The crisis began with a disturbing pattern of silence. Deep space monitoring stations, operated jointly by various species of the Galactic Federation, started going dark one by one. Not destroyed, just quiet. Within a week, 17 stations had ceased transmission along the galaxy's outer rim. In the Federation's Emergency Response Center, representatives from 24 species gathered around a holographic display of the affected region. The pattern was clear. Something was methodically isolating a section of the galaxy, and doing it with technology that left no trace. High Commander Vexnar of the Federation Defense Force slammed his armored appendage on the conference table. We need to deploy the combined fleet immediately. This is clearly an invasion pattern. With all due respect, Commander, Zixtal interjected, her crystalline form vibrating with urgency. We don't even know what we're dealing with. Deploying blindly could be exactly what they want. The argument might have continued, but a quiet voice from the back of the room cut through the tension. You're both missing something important. All eyes turned to Director Raj Kapoor of Earth's Deep Space Research Initiative, who had been studying the holographic display intently. The pattern isn't military. It's methodical, scientific. Whatever's doing this is studying our response capabilities. The room fell silent as Raj manipulated the display, highlighting subtle patterns that the military analysts had missed. See these timing intervals. They're precisely calculated to gather maximum data about our detection and response capabilities. This isn't an invasion force. It's a research expedition, a very aggressive one. High Commander Vexnar's combat sensors extended from his armor. Explain. They're learning, Raj continued, his voice carrying the calm certainty of a seasoned researcher. Each subsequent station goes dark in a slightly different way. They're testing our technology, our response patterns, our communication protocols. This isn't about territory. It's about information gathering. First speaker Iara's bioluminescent patterns shifted rapidly. If this is correct, we're not dealing with a conventional threat. We're facing something that thinks like humans. Zixtal finished, her crystalline resonances carrying a note of revelation, but much more advanced. The implications hung heavy in the air. If they were facing a species that shared humanity's innovative approach to problem-solving, but had centuries or millennia more technological development, the situation was far more dangerous than a conventional invasion. I have a proposal, Raj said, straightening his uniform, but you're not going to like it. Hours later, in a classified research facility beneath the Himalayan mountains, Dr. Priya Nair stood before an unprecedented gathering. The room contained the most brilliant scientific minds from Earth and a dozen alien species, all brought together under total secrecy. Welcome to Project Synthesis, she began, her voice steady despite the enormity of what they were about to attempt. We have 48 hours to do what's never been done before. Combine the scientific approaches of 13 different species into a unified response framework. The assembled beings looked at each other uncertainly. Centuries of cultural and technological developments separated them. Some processed information through quantum states, others through biochemical reactions, and still others through means humans couldn't even perceive. I know what you're thinking, Priya continued. It's impossible. Our methods are too different. Our technology's incompatible. But that's exactly why we'll succeed. We don't need compatibility. We need diversity. Humanity's strength isn't our technology. It's our ability to try everything until something works. She gestured to the massive data screens surrounding them. Each of you approaches problems differently. The Mechborn through pure logic, the harmonious confluence through pattern recognition, the militant hegemony through tactical analysis. We're going to try all of it simultaneously, and we're going to do it the human way. And what way is that? Asked a Mechborn researcher, its circuits pulsing with skepticism. Priya smiled, chaotically, enthusiastically, and with complete disregard for whether something should work in theory as long as it works in practice. The next 48 hours would become legendary in the annals of galactic science. Quantum computers ran alongside biological processing units. Psychic resonance amplifiers complemented traditional sensors. Theories that should have been incompatible somehow produced results when combined in ways no single species would have attempted. In the heart of the facility, Pryo worked tirelessly alongside Kittal, a young crystalline scientist who had initially been skeptical of the human approach. As they integrated yet another seemingly impossible combination of technologies, Kittal's crystalline form vibrated with what humans would recognize as laughter. "I finally understand," Kittal said, its translator struggling to convey the complexity of its crystalline resonances. "Your species doesn't excel at warfare. You excel at chaos, at trying things that shouldn't work, at combining elements that should be incompatible." Prya nodded, not looking up from the complex equations floating in the holographic display. That's what Sixtel's report missed. We're not accidentally creating weapons, we're accidentally creating everything. Solutions, problems, and more solutions. We just throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. "It's beautiful," Kittal admitted. "Terrifying, but beautiful." The breakthrough came from an unexpected direction. A team combining Void Dancer spatial awareness technology with human pattern recognition algorithms and crystalline energy manipulation discovered something extraordinary. The mysterious force wasn't just studying their technology. It was studying their methods of study. They're meta-researchers, Prya announced to the Emergency Council. They don't just want to know our capabilities. They want to know how we develop new capabilities. And thanks to our combined research methods, we now know how to track them. As the combined research team presented their findings, something unprecedented happened. The alien scientists began to understand why humans had been reclassified as a warrior race. It wasn't their weapons or their technology. It was their absolute refusal to accept any problem as unsolvable. The next phase would put that reputation to the ultimate test, as the galaxy faced an enemy that thought the same way humans did, but with technology far beyond their current understanding. The question wasn't whether humanity's approach would work, it was whether they could implement it fast enough to save the galaxy. The combined research facility had transformed into something unprecedented in galactic history. What had started as an emergency response center had evolved into a living demonstration of humanity's most distinctive trait, the ability to turn any situation into an opportunity for innovation. Admiral James Rodriguez stood before the holographic tactical display, studying the patterns of the approaching meta-researchers. Next to him, representatives from a dozen species watched as human tactical officers worked seamlessly with alien strategists, their different approaches to warfare blending in ways that would have seemed impossible weeks ago. "They're adapting to our standard defensive patterns," noted strategic mind Krathak, his chitinous armor gleaming under the holographic lights, "just as they adapted to our sensor technology." "Good," James replied, drawing surprised looks from the alien commanders. "That means they're predictable in their unpredictability. They're doing exactly what we would do, trying everything possible to understand their opponent." "You sound pleased about facing an enemy that thinks like humans," observed war leader Angstol of the militant hegemony. James allowed himself a small smile. "They think like humans with centuries of technological advancement, but they're facing something unprecedented. Humans working with 12 other species, all thinking differently. They can predict how humans innovate, but can they predict how humans innovate when combined with crystalline energy manipulation, Void Dancer spatial awareness, and Mechborn processing?" In the research labs below, Dr. Prya Nair and Kittal had made another breakthrough. By combining human chaos theory with crystalline resonance patterns, they'd discovered something extraordinary about their opponents. "They're not just studying us," Prya explained to the Emergency Council. "They're collecting methodologies. Each gone dark station represents a different aspect of galactic technology they've analyzed and absorbed. They're building a composite understanding of how every species approaches problems, which gives us an advantage," Kittal added, its crystalline form vibrating with excitement. "They're trying to understand each methodology separately, but we're already combining them in ways they can't predict. The first test of their theory came sooner than expected. A meta-researcher probe appeared at the edge of the Sol system, its technology far beyond anything the Federation had encountered. But instead of the standard military response it was clearly prepared for, it encountered something else entirely. The defensive system that activated was unlike anything seen before in the galaxy. Void Dancer spatial distortion fields merged with human-designed chaos pattern generators. Crystalline energy matrices powered by Mech-borne quantum processors created interference patterns that shouldn't have been possible. Most importantly, the entire system had been conceived, designed, and built in less than a week by a team that combined the scientific approaches of 13 different species. In the command center, James watched as the probe attempted to analyze their defenses. Its sensors cycled through different approaches, each time encountering a defense that operated on principles it couldn't quite grasp. Fascinating. Observe scientific director's era of the harmonious confluence. It's trying to categorize our defense system according to known technological principles, but it can't because we're not using any single species approach. That's humanity's real contribution to warfare, Priya said, joining them at the tactical display. Not our weapons or our technology, but our ability to combine incompatible ideas until they work. We're not just thinking outside the box. We're combining different species boxes into something entirely new. The probe's attempts to analyze their defenses became increasingly erratic. It tried to adapt, just as it had adapted to individual species technologies. But each time it developed a countermeasure, it encountered a new combination of techniques it had never seen before. Finally, after hours of failed analysis, the probe did something unexpected. It initiated communication. The message that came through was unlike anything they'd encountered before. It wasn't just in Federation standard language. It was in 13 different formats simultaneously, each tailored to a different species' communication methods. We have been studying the galaxy's species to understand their potential for advancement, the message began. We have collected methodologies, technologies, and approaches to problem-solving from 1,000 worlds. But what we have encountered here is unprecedented. James exchanged looks with the alien commanders. They're impressed. He translated for those unfamiliar with human expressions. Not impressed. The message continued, as if responding to his observation. Fascinated. You have achieved in weeks what we have spent centuries trying to accomplish. True synthesis of different species approaches to innovation. We did not expect this capability to emerge naturally within our study period. What followed was unprecedented in galactic history. The meta-researchers revealed themselves not as invaders, but as observers from a far older civilization. They had been traveling the galaxy, studying different species' approaches to technology and innovation, seeking signs of genuine advancement beyond mere technological progress. Your combined response to our probe demonstrated something we had theorized but never witnessed, their message explained. The ability to not just adapt technology, but to adapt thinking itself, to combine fundamentally different approaches to problem-solving in real time. This is what we have been searching for. In the weeks that followed, the emergency facility transformed again, this time into a permanent institution. The Combined Innovation Initiative, as it came to be called, became a place where species from across the galaxy could come together to solve problems in new ways. And at its heart was the lesson humanity had taught the galaxy. True advancement comes not from developing better technology, but from learning to think in ways that transcend individual species' limitations. The very trait that had caused humanity to be classified as a warrior race, their chaotic, innovative approach to problem-solving, had become the foundation for a new era of galactic cooperation. 10 years after the meta-researcher incident, the Galactic Federation's Grand Archive was updated with a new classification for humanity. Gone was the simple Category 1 warrior race designation that had caused so much concern. In its place was something unprecedented: innovation catalysts, species of particular significance to galactic development. In her office at the Combined Innovation Initiative headquarters, now occupying a massive space station in neutral territory, researcher Zixtel reviewed her original report with amusement. Behind her, through the vast observation window, Earth glowed blue and peaceful. "I got it wrong, you know," she said to Dr. Pryor, who had become both a colleague and friend over the years. "I thought humanity's danger lay in your ability to create weapons by accident. I never imagined your real power was in teaching the galaxy how to think differently." Praya smiled, watching a group of young aliens from various species collaborating in the station's main research hub. A crystalline researcher was explaining resonance patterns to a void dancer, while a human physicist and a mech-born engineer worked on translating the principles into practical applications. "We never needed to be feared," Praya replied. "We just needed to be understood. And in understanding us, the galaxy learned something about itself." The station's central chamber had become famous throughout known space. Called simply the interface, it was a place where different species could share not just their knowledge, but their fundamental approaches to problem-solving. The chamber's walls were lined with various types of data displays, each tailored to a different species' perceptual abilities. Senior Ambassador Toshi Yamamoto, now approaching retirement age, stood in the interface, addressing a group of new diplomatic trainees from 24 species. "The meta-researchers taught us something profound," he explained. "They showed us that true advancement isn't about technology or weapons, or even knowledge itself. It's about the ability to see problems from multiple perspectives simultaneously." He gestured to a historical display showing the original emergency research facility from a decade ago. "We thought we were preparing for war, but what we were really doing was learning how to transcend our individual limitations. Humanity's gift to the galaxy wasn't our chaotic innovation. It was our enthusiasm for combining different approaches until something new emerged." In another part of the station, Admiral Rodriguez, now retired, sat with war leader Extol, both serving as advisors to the initiative's security division. They watched as mixed teams of human and alien tactical officers ran simulation exercises. "Remember when you thought our species was dangerous?" James asked, a twinkle in his eye. Extol's battle-scarred armor shifted in what had become his version of a chuckle. "We weren't wrong. You are dangerous, but not in the way we thought. You're dangerous because you make other species think differently. You infect us with your curiosity, your willingness to try impossible things." The station's quantum processors hummed as they processed data from thousands of ongoing research projects. Each one combined multiple species' approaches to problem-solving, creating innovations that would have been impossible for any single species working alone. In the medical research wing, human doctors worked alongside crystalline energy healers and void dancer spatial manipulators, developing treatments that combine multiple species' understanding of life and healing. In the engineering sectors, human chaos theory merged with mech-born precision to create technologies that defied conventional classification. The meta-researchers, true to their nature, continued to observe. Their probes, now openly acknowledged and welcomed, recorded the unprecedented acceleration of galactic development. Species that had been stuck at technological plateaus for centuries were breaking through to new levels of understanding, not through better technology, but through better ways of thinking. Kill, now a senior researcher, often reflected on that crucial moment a decade ago when everything changed. "Humans taught us that innovation isn't just about finding new answers," they would tell new arrivals at the station. "It's about finding new ways to ask questions." The Galactic Federation itself had evolved. What had once been a loose coalition of species organized around mutual defense and trade had become a true collaborative entity. The human approach to problem-solving: try everything, combine the impossible, celebrate failure as a step toward success, had transformed galactic civilization. Zixtel's final update to her famous report became required reading for all species studying humanity. "In classifying humanity as a warrior race, we fundamentally misunderstood their true nature. Their apparent capacity for creating weapons was merely a symptom of a far more important trait: the ability to inspire innovation in others. They are not dangerous because they can create weapons. They are transformative because they can create new ways of thinking. In the end, humanity's greatest contribution to the galaxy was not their technology, their weapons, or even their methods. It was their enthusiasm for combining different perspectives, their celebration of diverse approaches to problem solving, and their unshakable belief that anything is possible if you're willing to try enough different ways to achieve it. They didn't make the galaxy more dangerous, they made it more innovative. And in doing so, they helped create something far more powerful than any weapon, a civilization that thinks in ways no single species could achieve alone. As the stars wheeled slowly past the station's observation windows, ships from hundreds of worlds came and went, each carrying beings who had learned to see the universe through multiple perspectives simultaneously. And at the heart of it all was the lesson humanity had taught the galaxy. True strength lies not in the ability to wage war, but in the ability to imagine and create things that have never existed before. The warrior race classification that had once caused such concern had become a historical curiosity, replaced by a far more accurate description: humanity, the species that taught the galaxy how to think differently.